Chapter 1992 Jihong Save Me. A strong sense of uneasiness shrouded Pokong's heart. He realized that if he continued to let the human beings in front of him grow, perhaps one day, the entire Wulwan Empire would be overthrown by him. This guy's growth rate is really too fast. He was almost filled with fear. He had to wipe out this human being in this sealed place and never let him return to the outside world. Zhang Egan ignored Pokong's nonsense, as his time was limited. What can two of us do? I bet you can't break my defense. Zhang Yi said secretly in his heart. The range of Sinluo Wanxiang directly expanded, and with itself as the center, it reached 10,000 meters. Outside this range, even if Jihong suddenly appeared and attacked him, not only would he not be able to break his defense, but his own life would be in danger. I'll kill you first. There was only Pokong in Zhang Yi's eyes. His figure became illusory in the air, and the distance between him and Pokong was shortened in an instant. The furnace was burning fiercely, and he had to unleash all this power in a short period of time to avoid waste. Zhang Yi descended from the sky, and the magic knife in his hand quickly launched a slashing attack. The black and red energy wrapped around it was like a giant dragon, roaring and rushing towards the air. Zhang Yi slashed out 9 times in a row, and 9 giant energy dragons roared and strangled Pokong. Pokong had suffered losses before, so he didn't dare to be careless at this moment. Well done. He was still able to move back, raising his sword to counterattack. It was at this time that Jihong appeared from a distance and harassed Zhang Yijin. Assassination star. He raised the black energy cannon high in both hands and smashed it towards Zhang Yi's back. However, after this tremendous energy fell into Zhang Yi's different dimension, it did not even make a splash and disappeared directly into the different dimension. For a mutant with only 34,000 points of supernatural power index, the energy released by the system is simply not worth mentioning, and it can't break Zhang Yi's defense at all. There is no need to pay attention to the so-called assassination. Jihong was completely confused. His presence was low before, but was his presence so low even in battle? Zhang Yi rushed forward with a knife in hand. His space shuttle, plus the overclocked demon god machine's speed, was astonishingly fast. Pokong felt a huge pressure and wanted to escape, but how could he escape from Zhang Yi's palm? He raised his sword and swung it continuously, and huge dark-colored spatial cracks slashed towards Zhang Yi, just to stop Zhang Yi's offensive. However, all of this was easily resolved by Zhang Yi using the overclocking burst of the demon god's body. Boom! 3 black and red energy dragons circled down ferociously and slammed heavily into the body of the creature that broke through the air. Puff! His armor was unable to remove this powerful energy, causing him to spit out large mouthfuls of blood. Damn it! Pokong was seriously injured, which made his eyes red and extremely angry. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? Not to mention that the other party was the 6th-generation human whom he looked down upon. In the armor on his left hand, a silver hollow sphere appeared like a work of art. This is the ultimate killer weapon of the Wulwan Empire, more powerful than the god of death of love of mankind. He was waiting for an opportunity. As long as Zhang Yi was within the explosion range, he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. But now, the most troublesome problem comes. It was true that he was a space shuttle, but Zhang Yi's movement speed was faster than his, and the two of them could not create any distance between them. Once this thing explodes, he will probably die. Pokong even felt a little regretful why he didn't use this powerful weapon directly on Zhang Yi at the beginning. Instead, now he was being chased and hacked by Zhang Yi with a big knife. Only 30 seconds had passed, and Zhang Yi could already feel that the demon god's body was overloaded and began to go out of control. The intelligence system gave him a reminder. There are still 19 seconds left. You must forcibly turn off overclocking, otherwise the machine may disintegrate. Zhang Yi did not answer, but accelerated his attack on Pokong. A man with a big knife chased after Pokong and slashed at him. Swamp of time. A huge space-time swamp appeared around Zhang Yimou's body. Within this range, everything outside of him was greatly slowed down. Pokong could clearly feel his speed slowing down, like waving a sword in a swamp. Zhang Yi had already come close to him. This was probably the first time that Zhang Yi actually fought closely with his opponent in a life-and-death duel. Not to mention his opponents, even his partners have never seen him before. Even though Pokong's body was several times larger than Zhang Yi's, he still felt the fear of death from the bottom of his heart when facing this demon god with a blazing red light burning all over his body. Send you to hell. Zhang Yi's fighting style was simple and crude. By the end of the day, he had already trained Liang Yu in close combat skills to a fairly mature level. With the support of the demon god machine, he was full of confidence. He directly compressed Sinluo Wanxiang to 1 meter around his body and then pulled Pokong in front of him. The defense is maxed out, and the attack attribute will reach the limit of the combat course within the next 10 seconds or so. Now, it's time to start a hearty battle. Pokong raised his lightsaber and hastily blocked Zhang Yi's attack. Every collision made his arms tremble. When. The collision between a knife and a sword, the energy transmitted through physical means is the purest and most lethal. After only 3 moves, Pokong felt a tingling sensation rising from the back of his spine and instantly spread to his entire back. The pain in his palms slowly disappeared, leaving only a sticky and warm feeling. His hands were already broken and bloody. Ji-hong, save me. In a desperate situation, Pokong could only place his hopes on his helpers. Because he realized that if he continued like this, he might really be hacked to death by Zhang Yi with a knife. Hearing Pokong's call, Ji-hong had to show up again. Looking at the devil-like figure, Ji-hong gritted his teeth, forcibly used the ability of non-existence to bypass Zhang Yi and came behind Pokong. He placed his right hand behind Pokong. Sensing. In an instant, the air in front of Zhang Yi's eyes disappeared. I can't see him, and I can't feel him, as if this person has never appeared around. There was no change in Zhang Yi's expression. His eyes were already murderous. Compared to my escape to the void, this move can only be described as clumsy. Do you really think that I can do nothing about you just because you conceal your existence? Chapter 1993 Rotten Orange Theory. Ji-hong took Pokong with him and concealed his own presence in order to temporarily avoid Zhang Yi's outburst phase. The two of them breathed a sigh of relief. Although Pokong was in a very miserable state at this moment and was seriously injured, with large amounts of blood oozing from the corners of his mouth, chest, and arms. But he said to Ji-hong, I can see that this guy is at the end of his strength. He uses the power of the machine to temporarily gain combat power that does not belong to him, but this power will soon disappear. When the time comes, he will let me slaughter him. Pokong must show his authority in front of his subordinates. You said yes. Ji-hong also quickly agreed. They didn't dare to delay any longer and hurriedly chose to evacuate to a distant place. But Zhang Yi, who had lost his target at this time, did not hesitate at all and made a strange move. He grasped the handle of the magic knife with both hands, then raised the magic knife, stabbed it hard, and stabbed it downwards. Energy tied. The enemy's actions were all within his expectations. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a waste of time to keep this second hand of time activated? Therefore, as long as the opponent's existence is hidden, no one can avoid his attack. Invisibility is just invisibility. It does not mean escaping into the void. The mechanical life form possesses an explosive skill, which is to directly burn an entire red energy crystal, thereby obtaining energy far beyond its own limit and launching an all-round attack. Zhang Yi replicated this move very skillfully. The red energy crystals within the furnace were drained of all their energy in an instant, turning into gray slag. Along the blade of the huge demonic sword, waves of surging power directly surged into the void. Waves, wave after wave, spread out in all directions, without any dead ends. The red energy tide spread across the mountains and flooded the area where Pokong and Ji-hong were in an instant. Feeling that powerful energy, the two's faces changed, but they had no way to hide, and their escape speed was not faster than the spread of the energy void. A huge energy wave radiated out in a ring shape, hitting their bodies fiercely. Crack, crack. Ji-hong's bones were all broken. He couldn't withstand this level of impact and coughed up blood. Pokong also burst out with all his strength to resist this energy impact. But there is not just one energy tide, but one after another, like a stone falling into the water, splashing up layers of waves. They washed over Ji-hong and Pokong's bodies. Ji-hong's bones and internal organs were destroyed on a large scale. Blood gushed out from the corners of his mouth like crazy, and even brought out a lot of internal organ fragments. Pokong pushed the armor's defense and his own energy to the extreme, but was still forced to retreat continuously to offset the impact of the energy tide. Puff! Ji-hong vomited blood, and the armor on his body was shattered. If he hadn't been protected by Pokong behind him, he would have been killed instantly by Zhang Yi. This also caused his ability to lose its effect, and he and Pokong both appeared in Zhang Yi's field of vision. The tide swept in all directions, and the surroundings became an endless wilderness where nothing could exist anymore. Pokong and Ji-hong stood in midair. Ji-hong was so weak that he could hardly stand. Luo Pokong was also in a state of disarray, but his eyes were still fixed on Zhang Yi in the distance. It was true that he was seriously injured, but he also felt that the terrifying energy from Zhang Yi was quickly dissipating. Power that does not belong to you will never bring you victory. Pokong clenched the Doomsday weapon tightly in his left hand, and was not in a hurry to use it. Even though he was seriously injured, he was still a powerful Black Priest-level warrior with an ability index of 42,000 points. He is much better than Zhang Yi. After overclocking, Zhang Yi's demon mecha also overheated, and its combat effectiveness was weakened in a short period of time. Now, it's my turn to attack. Damn you, bug. I will make you die in the most desperate way in the world. Pokong wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His anger had almost made him lose his mind. Zhang Yi stared at him and Ji-hong and said calmly, "No, it's over." Although the demon god's body had been overdrawn severely, Zhang Yi himself did not consume much energy from beginning to end. So now, as he said, he was going to end the fight. Zhang Yi raised his hand, and everything on his body suddenly collapsed. Dimensional gates gradually appeared around Pokong and Ji-hong like pieces of a puzzle. Just like playing with building blocks, the pieces are quickly put together. The infinite coffin. Zhang Yi stared at the coffin-like void creature, breaking through the air. You seem to enjoy trapping others in a cage, don't you? It's a good fighting method, so I want to try it too. I learned this move from you, breaking the air, and now I will use the most powerful move I have ever used to completely end your life. The dimensional gates fit together perfectly, forming a huge rhombus in the void. Zhang Yi raised his right hand, slowly and gently pressed it down. Pokong's pupils shrank suddenly, and he vaguely felt a huge sense of crisis. Although no one knows what Zhang Yi is planning to do, it must be an extremely powerful finishing move. However, now he was trapped in a cage that was even harder to escape from than the bird in his cage. He could hardly avoid the attack from every angle. With thousands of doors, there are thousands of attack angles blocking every part of his body. Don't be ridiculous, bastard. I won't just sit there and wait for death. Pokong let out a bloody roar with saliva flying everywhere, looking like a madman. He raised his left arm high, and the silver ring on his arm quickly enlarged, and the 3 light balls on it also rotated rapidly. An even more powerful force emerged from his body and concentrated on the ring. Then he pointed his left arm in the direction of Zhang Yi, as if to vent his anger, and launched the most powerful attack. The ring spun rapidly, and energy surged around the broken air like a storm, eventually turning into an eternal white beam of light, rising into the sky and slamming heavily into the dimensional gate. Ability Index 42,000 points. A full-strength attack, the power is unimaginable. Such a blow could even easily penetrate the entire Tianhai city. Under such an attack, the dimensional gate was quickly broken apart without any surprise. The wall made up of huge multidimensional gates also collapsed rapidly, just like crystal-clear glass being shattered by marbles, forming a chain reaction of shattering. Pokong burst into laughter. Is this your ultimate move? What infinite coffin? It's simply ridiculous. Rotten oranges are rotten oranges. What can a waste of a low-class race like you use to fight me? Dear viewers, thanks for staying with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.